This is episode 100. I wanted to do something to bring Kub back. I mean, he's always part of this, obviously, but I wanted to do something, that sort of honors him or something like that. I don't know. I was just had an idea. So what I was going to do was sort of grab a bunch of clips from him and talk about those clips and sort of just do like an episode like that. So I started going back through all the old stuff and listening to the old episodes and writing time codes and kind of getting this whole project going. But the more I went through everything, the more I found I was like, there was just so many clips that I would want to share that, I don't know. It just felt a little bit overwhelming. Maybe it would be too much stuff that was kind of like all over the place. And I think I started overthinking the whole project. I'm not going to not do that. Like I'm still going through all the old material and pulling time codes and things like that. But what ended up happening was I ended up deciding for episode 100, rather than do that, to re-release an old episode. And the reason I wanted to do that was there was a few things. Like, number one, that episode, it had so much good stuff from Kub that I just really wanted it to be back, at the front of the queue in its entirety. I know there's a lot of people that have been here since the beginning that have heard all the episodes, and then I've spoke to newer listeners that found the show and then ended up going back and listening to the whole catalog. So I know people have heard this before, but I also understand that not everybody has. So I just wanted it to be at the front. So that's one reason, because it was just so dense with good stuff. There's just a lot of stuff in there from him that I just wanted to leave intact. And then the other reason was, as I was planning this project, I was thinking back to the very beginning, because I listened to the first episode and it was kind of like, it brought me back to sort of where we were when we started the project. And it was, we had this idea that we wanted to put out some information that would help the culture. But at the time, we didn't know what that was going to be. So the first three episodes, the first episode was just about the graffiti culture, the rules of the game. We were taking responsibility, all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to recap all the early episodes, but what it was episode 4 was when the show sort of became what it ended up being, which is, and I remember having this conversation with Kub. We used to talk and sort of plan out different episode ideas. And I was reading the book Mindset, A New Psychology of Success by Carol S. Dweck, and I was getting so much out of it. I might have finished. Actually, I read the whole book before I spoke with Kub. But anyway, I ran this idea by him, and I said, what do you think if we took this kind of information and tried to come at it from our perspective and deliver that information to the graph culture? We ended up having a really good conversation about it, and then decided that was a good thing to try. And that ended up sort of shaping what the whole show is about. And it's what I've continued to do to this day. So I just felt like that episode was like a really good sort of turning point in the show's progress. And then, like I said, there was just so much good stuff from Kub. You really get a good insight on kind of how he was as a person and the way he thinks, and just a lot of great stuff. So I just really wanted to bring that back. So that's what I'm going to do. Episode 100, just going to put out an old episode that had us both on it. And I wish he was here for this, and definitely miss him. Obviously, the show's not the same without him, but I just have to keep pushing forward and see what happens over the next 100 episodes. Maybe we'll evolve into some other stuff. I definitely enjoy where this episode has taken us. This episode was kind of the catalyst to push it into the direction that we're going. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and we're going to get into it. So here we go. All right, we're talking about mindset today. So it'll be kind of interesting to try to keep this tied into graph. The idea came from a book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Now, it's kind of a weird, maybe like an off-the-wall topic for a graph podcast, but if you understand the concept between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, it can really help every aspect of your life. So with that, it could greatly benefit your graffiti. So
yes.
we should sort of sum up what the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset is. And they go into, the book is a lot of examples of different aspects where these different mindsets affect different people. And basically a fixed mindset would say, I'm born with X amount of intelligence, so all I can really accomplish is, whatever that amount of intelligence was that I was born with. Whereas a growth mindset goes with the understanding that you can exercise your brain, you can absorb more information, and you can increase your intelligence. And they talk about talent as well. So when you're looking at somebody that says, oh, I wasn't born with the talent to draw, so I'll never be able to be an artist. But they did studies that showed that they could teach people to be able to draw even when they didn't have this born talent. So there's examples in the book of some drawing that people did that was super shitty. And then by the time they were done with this course, they actually drew some pretty nice portraits, like portraits better than what I can do. And I've always been under the assumption that I was born with a certain amount of artistic talent. So a lot of what they talk about is, if you're willing to put in the work, you can accomplish a lot more than what you believe you were born with. So,
yes. And I think starting off with just having faith in yourself, and with that, you can adopt that sense that my ability can grow with very hard work. That just because I haven't done it yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen for me.
So let's just tie this to art real quick. Okay, so there was an artist, and graffiti is art, so this same shit applies to graffiti. There's this guy, and I saw this video, and he said the problem with the art world in 2020 was that there are, I can't remember if he said mediocre, but let's just say he did. I'm not going to name his name, so it doesn't really matter if I misquote him. But basically what he was saying was there are mediocre artists that are really good at social media, so they're seeing a tremendous amount of success, whereas there's incredibly talented artists that are bad at social media, and they aren't finding the same amount of success. He's essentially saying that is what is wrong with the art world in 2020. And to me, as soon as I read that, I was like, that is such a fucking fixed mindset. Because if you're actually going to complain about not seeing success on social media because you think your art is so much better than everybody else's, but you're just bad at social media, why aren't you working at being good at social media? It's not hard to do. It's such an easy, look, it's not an easy thing to do, but it takes effort. Like, some people fall into it and some people blow up on social media. You can see tons of examples, especially on like TikTok or Instagram. The point is, like, it was just, to me, it struck me very, very hard as like a great example of a fixed mindset, because it's just really not that hard.
I don't know. I'm trying to relate it back to myself. I absolutely did not apply myself on the platforms or had someone close to me handle that for me, because I just thought I was never going to be good at it, or my desire, like I said before. But it was a complete opposite mindset that I should have had. I'm just not good at it yet. I haven't applied myself yet.
Right.
I haven't actually made those contacts. What am I doing? Am I commenting on all these people and letting them know how much I admire what they're doing and respect this and that, and am I networking and reaching out and trying to meet with them and paint with them, and through that branch, perhaps if I was doing something like that, things would have a different look.
It's just not something that's that hard to do. So if you're complaining that you're not seeing success on a platform, it's hard work is the answer to that. So instead of going too far down the road of social media, we could talk about other examples. So let's say you're a graph writer and you're not very good at letters, but you're good at characters, and you say, my letters suck, so I'm just going to do characters. So that's kind of a fixed mindset. So you could say, my letters suck right now. I'm going to work really hard and get better at letters, and you would improve. So instead of like thinking, and I've thought this a lot of times, you know, with certain types of art, I just thought, oh, that's not the kind of talent that I was born with. Like, my art looks like this, whereas my friend's art looks like that. I don't have the same abilities as he does. But the reality is he just worked harder at those specific types of art than I did. So maybe I wouldn't be as good as him, but I certainly could be a lot better than I am. It's like, you can get better at every aspect of anything you want to get better at. So you don't have to think that I'm never going to be good at this, I'm never going to be good at that, unless you put in the work. Like, if you put in the work, you're going to get better. It doesn't mean you're going to be the best that ever was, but you can certainly get a lot better than you are. So it's really easy to get into that fixed mindset in art and graffiti and all this kind of stuff by thinking you have to have a certain amount of born abilities in order to be able to do a certain kind of work. You see people that are super good at characters that do photo, like Hex, for example. He does mind-boggling stuff. Like, he was doing photorealistic characters in the 90s with Krylon and sprayers and all this stuff.
Yes.
He was born with a certain amount of talent, but he put in a ton of time to develop those skills. You know what I mean? So if he was born with all that talent and a fixed mindset, he wouldn't have been able to do as good a work as he ended up doing, or he continues to do. It's because of a growth mindset. He worked at it. He developed those skills. So
correct, because people, even with all those skills and talent from the day they're born, as we've seen before, with a fixed mindset, don't see them through.
Not only do they not see them through, but they never reach their full potential. And in the book, there's an example with John McEnroe. Like, I think he was like the best tennis player of his time, super talented, but he had a total fixed mindset. So he never saw his true potential. So when something would go wrong in a match, instead of going back and saying, oh, I need to get better at that, or I need to work harder at this aspect of my game, he would blame his rackets, or he would blame the ref. He would blame everybody but himself. So instead of like, and my reading comprehension, I'm getting better. It's not quite, I don't remember this as well as maybe I should, but my understanding of it was that he never did reach his true potential because he always projected the issues outside. So instead of like looking at what he could do better, it was always blaming other things. So the thing that I like about this idea and this concept that this author, what is her name? Carol S. Dweck, PhD. I found that you can apply this to every aspect of your life. And I would recommend reading this book, even if you're not that into reading. There's so many examples that show how a fixed mindset can negatively affect any aspect of your life, from your business to your hobbies to your relationships with people. Having a fixed mindset, it doesn't allow you to grow. So to try to help people apply this to graffiti, there's a lot of examples, but I'm having a hard time with like,
let's just dumb it down for a second for people like me. So somebody calls you a fucking toy when you're young. That shit is whack. Your outline is weak. Your highlights are too skinny. Your fucking 3D is lopsided. Your letters are not proportioned. I've heard one of all those things throughout my years. It hyped me up with the right mindset. Like, ultimately I have had this mindset. I've just, because of other, like I said, extracurricular things that were not serving me, I veered off the tracks just a little bit and kept going in that direction until I was so far off the map, I had to bring it back in. And luckily I left enough breadcrumbs to follow my way back in. So I do understand this concept, but like I said, only now do I apply it. So now with the growth mindset, You accept those things that people say about you and what you can improve and what needs the most attention. And you say, all right, cool. I'm not perfect at that proportion yet. All right. I'm not quite good enough with the 3D yet. All right. I'm not good enough with this yet. Okay. So you like identify those things that challenge you and identify how you feel when those challenges come up. Like what are those triggers? That's another thing I read about. Like, what are the triggers that pop up when you have that challenge come up? Again, are you feeling defeated and devastated? Like you're just fucking toy. You're done, period, over. Or are you going to use that like another affiliate from one of my crews that Steve brought up last week to your advantage? I did the same thing. Anytime somebody told me, man, you'll never be able to catch that spot. Oh, all right, bro. Now I'm fucking on fire. Now I have to do it. You know, like those kind of, it's like use it as motivation instead of a defeating, you know, instead of a stone on your back, use it as some wings, like, in a sense, you know, and the words in the face of that criticism and setback and competition, like how are you going to apply yourself now? Are you going to just like curl up in a little ball and say, all right, you're right. Put your hands over your head. Fuck it. I'm done. No, fuck that. You know, I mean, I believe the right way to go about that is to jump even higher and you know, move how can we relate this to like today, that Mamba mentality, you know, what people have been buzzing about right now. And I mean, that's really what it is. It's not to say that, and again, see, these words are powerful and they can work against our best intention as well. Like what I was reading, they were saying when you put somebody or yourself on a pedestal in a position of superiority, in a sense, your life can revolve around that perception and believing that you like deserve that title, which could ultimately limit you to those things. You've been so convinced that you're so great at this or that, or you're meant to do this. You kind of almost throw yourself back in a narrow channel and in a box to kind of just keep emulating and keep repeating that thing that people say that you're the best at.
Well, those are both examples of a fixed mindset from two different perspectives, right? So, well, I guess I'm not saying that quite right. They're examples of where you can either apply a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. So the first one, how somebody's attacking you, a growth mindset says, okay, I'm taking that as criticism or critique. Mm-hmm. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to improve those things. And you're not feeling defeated. Maybe, you know, as a human, you kind of feel attacked when somebody's doing that kind of stuff, especially the way they're delivering the information. But somebody that I listen to a lot, Andy Frisella, he was talking about something just like that. He said, even if you get really aggressive critique in business, you should listen to it because there could be real information in there. The person may not just be being a dick to you. So in your case, if somebody's telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that, and it fires you up, that's totally a growth mindset. That's you saying, well, shit, I hadn't thought that my lines are wobbly or whatever. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to get better at that.
Right.
And then your second example was putting yourself on a pedestal. That's also a fixed mindset way to go about things. So it's like the book talks about people that rely on their talents. So they think, oh, I'm talented, so I don't have to work that hard. Like somebody that's naturally gifted at some sport and they don't go to practice and put in all the time. And you said that the Mamba mentality, like I don't follow basketball, but what I do know about Kobe was that, or I don't know this, but I've heard this, that even though he was very talented, he would show up 2 hours before practice and start practicing. I don't know if I'm right about that or not, but if I am, that's a growth mindset. That's somebody that's like, I'm already very talented. If I work super hard, I'm going to fucking kill it because I already have these natural abilities. Like you can't really deny that people have different abilities. Like the reality is some people have certain talents and some people don't, but it doesn't mean you can't work really hard and get better.
Yes.
You know,
inborn talent is a rarity and perseverance is something that anybody can embrace. And in doing so, you know, embracing your deficiencies in a sense was another thing they mentioned in there. Embrace those things that you know could be stronger, could be better. I could apply myself more. I could listen better. I could I could try to understand this person's position. I could try harder to, just apply myself in all these ways I feel like I'm lacking or someone is telling me I'm lacking, because in my experience, my head and my way has always gotten me into a shitty place. And like the moment I actually open up and I'm willing to take some advice from someone, no matter what area of my life it is, things always get better. Things will always get a little stronger. I find that confidence again. There's some true strength and confidence in admitting that you don't know what you don't know, and that I need a hand. What's up? Because that's the growth mindset. It's like, I'm going to handle everything on my own. I got this. I know all this shit already. You can't tell me nothing. I'll tell you. I mean, essentially you're going to just stay stuck in that shoebox or that locker of what knowledge you think you may have or may not have. Where am I going with that? I have no idea, but I know that to develop what we already have inside of us and to have faith in who we are and in that raw material that we possess, and to allow someone else to water that, cultivate something new from their experience and their guidance. It's like lifting up the next guy, like what we talked about in the first session. Being vulnerable, being transparent, and being honest about what you don't know, and then willing to grab someone's hand and like, show me. You got the fucking blueprint. You got the directions through this fucking whatever, this maze. Show me the way, because I don't know. That's growth. That's like, it's like the fixed mindset is living in such a small and narrow world. Living so small, like petty, being so caught up in the small things and the petty things, and allowing those comments and those critiques to break you. And it's like, no, that was beautiful. Every single, there's another analogy for that. I forget exactly what it is, but like, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But that's so mild compared to where I'm going. That's like so vanilla compared to like the level I want to take it to in that sense. But use each lashing in a sense as something that's going to just allow you to grow. I can't find the words.
Well, they covered a lot of that stuff in the book, and one example, and I'm sure there's a lot of examples of this in graffiti, where they talk about the fixed mindset of a bully and a victim. So like you have a bully that feels superior and wants to make other people feel inferior as a fixed mindset kind of way of going about things. And then the person that's getting bullied could either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, whereas a fixed mindset person, if somebody is bullying them and making fun of them and all that stuff, it's going to make them feel worthless, and they're going to accept that stuff as like, I'm not this, I'm not that, and sort of feel like they deserve that, or the bully is right. Whereas a growth mindset person will be more confident in themselves and may either look at the things that, well, the growth mindset, the way that I read it in the book, was they would be more focused on what's wrong with the bully, what's wrong with the person that's behaving this way. Like, why are they doing this? Like, there's got to be some issues that are going on with that person that's making him treat somebody that they don't even know this poorly. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
So the growth mindset person is not going to take, oh, you're stupid, or you're this, or you're that. And they're going to be like, damn, what's wrong with that guy? Why is he acting like that?
Yes.
So you can apply that to social media. I mean, I know we keep going back to it, but social media is definitely a place where these kinds of things happen, especially in our culture. So, for example, when you look at, you put something online and some guy goes, toy, and you're like, okay. And this has happened to me recently. So I put these videos online, right? Yeah. And they're just to help the culture, for people.
Yeah.
Of course, like a veteran's not going to go on there and maybe not learn, but like there's a lot of people coming into the game,
Yeah.
So I put these videos out there. Hey, a lot of people like them. they're getting a ton of views, like way more than any other videos that I've ever posted. And so with that, the audience is bigger. So I'm getting those comments where somebody just types toy, your can control sucks, you suck, or this is whack, or something like that. And what's interesting about it, and I don't know if I can apply this to fixed or growth mindset, I would of course say that that's a fixed mindset because you're lashing out at somebody that's trying to help and you're just strictly being a dick for whatever your reasons are. But the thing that I find the most interesting is, like, I would say 100% of the just straight up negative comments, like toy, whack, or those like just, there's no thought behind it. They're not even telling me what's whack. They're just blanket statement. They're all private accounts. They never come from an account where you can verify whether these people have anything to stand behind.
Of course.
There was one comment that came, you could see it as kind of negative. You could see it as just, this is their opinion. I did a video on cutbacks. I personally like cutbacks. I've seen the memes that they're toy. Fuck that. I'm doing cutbacks when I want to do them.
Yes.
I don't do them every time. I don't rely on them. Some styles I feel like I like some graph styles that rely on those cutbacks that make it look a certain way.
Agreed.
Not to get too far into that, but so I did a video on how to do cutbacks. Like, here, overlap the lines and gives you a little room to cut back. And somebody wrote, real artists don't use cutbacks. And so I was like, well, you know, I like cutbacks, so I'm going to use them. Maybe I'm not a good artist. I don't remember what I said. That guy's account wasn't private, and he was actually very good, very skilled. One of those kind of writers that they nail their outlines. You know, they do the kind of work that you can't really cut back, you know, like there's crazy gradients and stuff where you don't really have the flexibility to cut back. I don't know where that was going, but.
Well, you know, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
And whoever this person is you're talking about, I'm sure just based off what you said, that he's very talented, very experienced still. Does he have the say and wherewithal to say what is and what isn't? Fucking absolutely not. And anybody who does comment on something, if I say something, I don't have the right to. You don't. We don't. It's like, here's the other thing I do know. We can't control what anybody else thinks, what anybody else does, what anybody else says, how they fucking feel about whatever. We have zero control over that and never will. So how do we apply that to the growth mindset? You take those comments. It's like, you feel this way, you feel that. That's cool. It's all love. Good for you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing. You know, it's like, whatever. I'm still going to do this thing. Okay, you know what? I didn't look at it that way. Maybe I should work on that. First of all, it'd probably blow their mind. They think you're going to come back at them with some kind of like, well, fuck you, man. Yeah. I got this fucking whoop since the years of whoop. Be like, you know what? I never looked at it that way, man. Maybe I should check that out. They're just, what do they even have to say after that? It's like, that just leaves them like, but that's the growth mindset. Like, maybe, yeah, you want to be a chump? That's cool. Maybe I'll just give you back a little love. Let's see what you do with that now. I'm going to continue on with my cutbacks and my things, because guess what? I'm having a good fucking time over here doing this. So, like, to me, that's growth. Knowing that, hey, no matter what someone says or doesn't say, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to keep doing me.
I thought that was really interesting that you said that, because that's really exactly what I've been doing. Every now and then I'll get into a little debate with somebody, because these comments are coming a little more frequently now because we've been growing kind of fast. And, but I made the decision to come back with positivity. So, like, on Instagram, I've been doing exactly what you said. Like, if somebody says, toy, I'll say,
you just sound funny saying
appreciate your feedback. Yes, you know, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
You know, or
keep coming back.
Yeah. Or something like that, you know, and it's like, they don't come back. They don't respond back, you know?
Right.
And it's, I don't think they're prepared. I mean, I think they want to throw that shit out there, and they kind of think that, you know, maybe they don't know that I've been writing since 1991. And for some, not that you know, above being toy. Like I probably do some shit that's toy still, but after so much time, like, you know, you're not gonna believe that shit, you know, like almost 30 years later, I'm not going to believe somebody saying toy.
And it takes on a different meaning at this point for people like yourself and anybody else, like, you know, in that same arena. Because I don't consider myself anywhere near your level, first of all. So let me just say it like this, though. It's like takes on a whole nother meaning. It's not like words have power in a sense. Like that word itself, even when somebody says it, they're trying to make it, you know, a low punch. Like, I want this to, you know, hit him.
Yeah.
Like, toy. Like,
it's like, are you serious?
I don't even remember the last time I even said that word. Besides like shopping for a gift for like a you know, young kid. So, I mean, it's like, okay, first of all, you climbed out of, what is it in that Batman movie where he climbs out of that like pit that he has to like, you know, you climbed out of that pit so many years ago, bro. Like that word doesn't even apply to you anymore. Like but see, what's funny is like the concept of like darkness can't survive in the light. It just can't. Right. Like, first of all, someone who's throwing those fucking dark pitches, it's like, damn. Ooh, because I can relate to this because it wasn't that long ago that I was in a very dark place, in a very dark mindset, and very angry and very negative. And there's a lot of people who know me that'd be like, fuck yeah, you were. So I understand that when those things are flying at you or we're serving them, they're coming from a place that's angry and upset and dark. Like if somebody's on their shit and they're having a good day and they're just about this world and all that, like they'll be coming at you with the more mild like criticism, like, yo, check it out, homie, maybe you should, you know, try this instead of this, like, because they're coming from a good place. So I forget what we started with, but it's like somebody who comes at you with something like that, it's like, yeah, man, it's all love, that's good. I hope you're having a good day, though. You good? Like, hey, you can email me. We can talk, dog. Like, you know.
I think that's going to be my next thing. You all right?
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah. Is everything good? Like, everything good at home? I mean, we can talk. It's all.
Because, like, I know we haven't known each other, like, for a really long time, but, like, I could never imagine you posting some shit like that on social media going, like, fuck, that shit sucks. Like, it's so like far from
not,
you know. So going back to this fixed growth shit, you know, that has to be coming from this weird fixed mindset, like to want to, if they really, I can't even really get my head around like when somebody actually just writes toy, like, a lot of times I'm like, that's just some dude that probably doesn't write.
Yeah.
And he heard somebody use that term and he doesn't really even know what it means. Like he knows that graph writers don't like being called toy. But if he or she, I don't even know, if they're truly trying to like cut deep, like what the fuck is going on with them?
Right.
To want to do that.
That's,
you know?
exactly what I was about to just say. Another growth mindset point and principle is adopting that way of looking at everything and everybody. You never know what the guy right next to you is going through at that moment. You never know what that, like giving somebody that credit before, even if they come at you sideways like that, it's like, all right, like who knows what just happened in his family today or what he literally just went through. Cause like, even our darkest things might be a cakewalk to some other people, and what they're going through on a daily basis has got them on social media. I mean, you're just one of 100 different sites that he's on, just ripping people apart. That's all he does all day because it's just fun. Or it's like a bunch of young kids fucking drinking their first beers online, just like bullying people and calling other people out and fucking whatever. But you just never know. You just never know. But that's the thing. You can't do nothing about anybody's shit but your own. And that's where the growth mindset can shine. That's the brilliance of the growth mindset is internal and then reflect out. It's like a flawless diamond. You just hit each facet and keep shining from one angle to the next until it hits all the things around you, until you get that bling, you get that shine.
I've heard that before too. I've heard quite a few people mention stuff like that you never know what that person's gone through. And like I gave you an example of that in one of our conversations where like I was just having a really shitty day and somebody came into the shop and I was a dick to them. I've been short with people that didn't deserve it. You know, like one time I was in Radio Shack and buying a cable and I was just a total asshole to the guy. I was having an awful day. It's no excuse, but like, you don't know, you know, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I mean, it's more like not taking that stuff personally. And maybe that person is a dick. Maybe that person just got in a car accident. Maybe somebody stole his bike. I don't know. You know, it's a good way to look at things to be like, hey, something's going on with that guy. It's not you, you know? And I think another book, I didn't actually get through finishing this book, but it was about anger and how it's all about your ego.
Yes.
So when you start getting mad, it's because your ego is affected. So like if you get your ego in check, then it's way easier to not get mad about things because it's not about you. It's about all this other shit that happens. Like, so if somebody's an asshole to you, doesn't necessarily mean that you're deserving of being treated like that, but it's probably more about what that person was going through. So how many times has anybody been out there and like flew off the handle on somebody and then 2 minutes later they're like, I can't believe I just said that to that person.
Too many times.
You know, and it's just...
Yeah. Being in fear for me of what I'm not going to get that I think I deserve or what I'm going to lose that I already have. And it gets me into a place of fucking rage, of just so misinformed and so disconnected with what the reality of the situation is. And that anger can be... Fuck, I just lost what I was going to say about that. Bringing it back to like graffiti is kind of where I was going to go. Fuck, how did you start that?
I was talking about... I was going off of what you said as far as you don't know what that person was going through,
right.
So they treat you like shit.
Right.
And I went on some rambly fucking
thing. No, it was good. It was good. But, you know, you're right. It's being in a fixed mindset where you believe that something that you're not going to get that you think you should have, or losing something you already have that you want to hold on to. But it's like you're fixed in this perception of what things are and will be. And it keeps you in a narrow perspective. There we go. So we were talking about Navy SEALs before, and there was a couple examples. I was at one of my favorite places to kind of do my routine, and there was a whole crew doing the Navy SEALs training, and they were doing sandbag lifting and push-ups and burpees, Navy SEALs, and running up and down these hills and swimming out, swimming back in, relay, back and forth. I mean, they were getting it. They were going hard when I got there, and they were going hard when I left, and I was watching them for a while. They didn't stop. Even when dudes had to hit the bathroom, they would fucking bolt back. But so the only thing that they're you know, I want to say they're those that were in charge of the recruits. Okay, the ones who were standing at the top of the sandhill, like kind of telling them, they weren't telling them shit. All they were saying was hydrate and don't anticipate. And what I got from that was just that. Don't anticipate. Like, let's use working out or let's use graph as an example. I only have this much paint, so I'm only going to do my shit this high. Or I only sketched this today, so I'm just going to sketch this. Don't anticipate any of that. Like, what I found some of my most... exciting finish sets or productions or whatever in my life has been with zero expectation and anticipation. It was using the surface that we were on and flexing the letters or the production itself based upon the way the vines hung, the way the brick wall came apart, the way the fence came in, so we didn't want to hit that. So, all right, let's flex our shit. Another good way to relate it to graffiti art, like go to a freight yard. Oh fuck! I don't want to hit this side of the freight because I only got this many sections because the numbers are here, the stamps here. There's a streak from Bozo Texino that I don't want to go over. Like whatever it might be. Like there's just something you just don't want to touch. So, all right, how about this? Growth mindset. Get your fucking ladder out of your truck. Let's do the top of this train end to end or something. Like flex a little bit. When I was younger, we talked about this as well. I was so tired of going to spots and there was so many people I respected or so many people I didn't want to have an issue with. And I did a whole mission to get there. That's when maybe we should just go higher. Maybe we should grow a little bit here. Maybe we should only hit these high spots. And like that took on a whole nother wave of like thinking and looking at spots and looking at the city. The way I scoped for spots at that point was just completely different. And, those are maybe extreme, but still very simple examples of seeing past the problem as it's not a devastating situation. It's an example of how we can hop this obstacle and touch something different in the same spot, I
don't know if this is, maybe it's SARS. Maybe I had SARS. I don't know. I don't know if this is exactly fixed mindset or not, but this, I got swine flu.
We got it all. It's a combo.
Go back from 2000 to 2020. I have all that shit.
Oh, shit.
So that don't anticipate. Something kind of clicked when you were talking about that because, and I don't know if this applies to fixed and growth mindset, and I'm sure you can relate to this. When you're doing a piece or something and you have those lines that you're like, oh my God, this is going to be, there's no way I'm going to land this highlight that goes all around the thing. And you can only do it with one line. You know what I mean? And you're sitting there anticipating that you're going to hit that and it's going to be a half inch away from the line and then it's going to catch back up and you're like, and then I got to wait for it to dry and clean it up and do it again.
Yeah.
But when you don't anticipate and you're like, all right, I'm just going to nail it and just do it.
Yeah.
Have you had those sessions where like you just get out of your own head and you're like, everything is going to land exactly where I want it to land. And it does. Like all your highlights. I remember painting in the 90s and I was trying to recapture this in my current years because I used to paint that. And I look back at my pieces and, the borders and the highlights, they weren't perfect. But while I was painting them, I believed they were going to go exactly where I wanted them to go. And I would just be like, bam, and just put them all there. Mm-hmm. I changed the way that I painted somewhat recently. So those kind of, I changed the way I painted to where I kind of like chisel everything in and like scratchy and all this stuff. And it made things easier. Like it made it. And I think I actually did that subconsciously so that my pieces were easier to paint. So it was like, I do like this kind of messy, it's this art philosophy. I won't get into it. It's called wabi sabi. Google it and you'll kind of understand. It's like embracing asymmetry and dirty stuff. Maybe we could talk about that in another episode, but the point is I adopted that into my work. It made my work more fun, but it also made it easier because everything was just, hey, I got a drip there. I'm going to leave it. I like the drip. I still do that. I'm going to continue doing that, but it sort of took away all of those real challenging lines, those big, long, curvy lines that you have to have a highlight right next to it and then a border on the other side of it. And so going back to what I was talking about, that don't anticipate, I don't know if that's a fixed or growth mindset thing, but is it? I mean, when you think about it, when you don't anticipate and and everything just comes together.
Absolutely. Another good example, say you're at the gym and you tell yourself, I'm going to do 10. I'm going to do 10. Most people know by the 9th, you're like, ugh, because you feel in your head that you got one more in you. You just tell yourself, I'm going to, like you used this example earlier, go to failure, or someone did.
Yeah, when we were talking
earlier, yeah. And failure could be fucking 25. You just go, just do it. I think that's absolutely a growth mindset. Do not anticipate. Don't put yourself in a box on that pedestal where you are this guy because of this, that you will do this because this is where you're at. Like, I mean, I've done stuff that is from A all the way to Z using the exact same materials, the same tips, the same whatever, the same weather, the same breakfast, the same sleep, and done something way, way different just because of the mindset I was in. Yeah, some days we have, you wake up with, and I think everything goes back to this, the way you carry yourself, the way you wake up in the morning, how you treat the person closest to you, what you ate, what you're thinking. You don't have to be a guru and meditate and do mindful meditations and all these guided things. You can just be like, all right, I love my life. Today's beautiful. Whatever we're going to do, we're going to have a great day. And just like have that kind of attitude. And then who knows, that day you're just in it. You said it. You believed in these strokes. You believed that you were going to pull that off. Like you had that faith in what was already, you had the faith in what was unseen. Shit that hadn't even happened yet. You believed it. You knew it, and you let time catch up to it. Another dude that I look up to highly is Charlie Rocket. I highly recommend anybody watching some of his videos and his story. This fucking dude is amazing. And his mentality and his perception on things, he's on point. And it's just that. He says, this is a quote from what he says. Give thanks for the things that are unseen and haven't happened yet, and just allow time to catch up to it. But it's not just saying that, it's believing it, like you just said. You believed in your strokes. You believed what you were going to do and how you were going to do it. It's like going back to the ones with the fixed mindset telling you you'll never this, you'll never that, you can't that. Growth mindset. All right, I got this. I believe I will. Oh, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you is another form of fuck that. I got this. But just having to harness that so you don't sound like a cocky asshole and you're more like about yourself and like, nah, I got this. I can handle this shit. Yeah.
Well, there's kind of like there's a balance between believing in yourself and being cocky. I mean, it's, what is it? The difference between confidence and arrogance, right? So like what you're talking about is believing, if somebody says your lines are shit, you can't just believe your way into it, but you can believe that you can improve those lines. You can believe that you can improve anything if you work at it. It really comes down to work too. I mean, if you look at somebody and say, oh, they have it all, because they have this talent, and you're not looking at how much work that it took to really develop those talents, so it's not everybody that has like such a huge amount of talent that they don't actually have to work. So
right.
What you're saying is kind of like somebody criticizes you and you say, I got this, because you're willing to put in the work to get there. Maybe you got this 6 months from now.
Right.
But you're prepared to put in that time.
Not yet. Exactly.
Not yet.
There you go.
And so we're getting a little long, so I wanted to go back to something you said earlier, which was talking about failure, because I think, if I remember right, that's a big part of the fixed mindset versus growth mindset is learning to look at failure differently. And sometimes I've been really trying to learn a lot of shit, like reading, podcasts, everything outside of like the occasional shitty TV show that I watch is about trying to get better at everything.
Yes.
And so this may be a combination of various sources, but the idea of looking at your failures differently, and we just talked about this with Roger briefly, but I believe that the growth mindset trains you to look at failure differently. So you can find lessons in every failure. I don't know. I think that was pretty much.
That's beautiful.
There's not much more I could say.
Yeah.
But
No, I think that's great. It was, I could tell you exactly 104 days ago, because this shit means something to me, that quote unquote failure and an unanticipated situation made me really dig deep and look at what that meant at that moment. And instead of taking it as a devastating tragedy, I used it. I promised myself that it wouldn't be in vain. I promised myself that there is something beautiful from this, to take from this, and I took the fucking action. And with that action has come some fucking amazing turnarounds in a very short amount of time. So I can't even imagine applying this to the rest of my life, what it's going to look like. I'm so intrigued by this topic for that reason. It couldn't have landed at a better time. You know, it's like only now that the fog is kind of lifting for myself are these like metaphoric planes kind of landing, you know, the ones that I've kind of tucked away for so long, and I'm starting to understand what the fuck is happening. But it's with that perception of, nah, the silver lining, you know, there's something beautiful here. And I feel like I'm going to backpedal, but I kind of wanted to touch on the confidence and arrogance thing, because one thing they do talk about in the book, which I've also experienced, is one can adopt the growth mindset and the fixed mindset in other areas of their life and somehow make it work. Not that you need to kind of hijack that growth mindset in a sense, or to allow the fixed mindset to reside permanently, but it can, however, be something that's living inside of us at the same time. You can have that confidence in your step and yourself and still be arrogant as well.
I do remember something about what you're talking about. I wish I had read this book a little bit more recently, but they were saying that everybody has fixed and growth mindset stuff in you. So it's not like, you know, once you get this idea, let's say somebody listening goes, all right, I'm going all in, growth mindset, let's do this. They read the book, they start researching, and they start applying this to their life. It doesn't mean that every single part of their life is going to now follow this growth mindset path, because you find yourself going back and forth all the time. It's a maintenance thing. So it's not like if you work out, you know, you don't just get all big or whatever your goals are. You don't get to that point and then you're done. You have to keep doing it. You have to not only maintain it, but I'm not like a super fitness guy. I'm in pretty good shape, but like, not only do you have to maintain it, but like you actually have to work harder because the weights are lighter now because you're stronger. So like your metabolic conditioning is way better. So now you have to go longer and harder, and it doesn't get easier. It gets harder because you're in better shape. So like if you really want to keep progressing, you have to keep working. So I don't know if that's where you're going, but you'll always have moments of fixed mindset. And I catch myself all the time. It's not like I've been following this for a long time, but there's a lot of examples of where you can catch yourself thinking, I can't do this because of that. This is happening to me because of this. And you're living with both mindsets. So the arrogance versus confidence is maybe slightly different. But the point of you're dealing with both mindsets, I don't think that ever changes.
No. And if we're to circle back to like our first episode, I think, or second, as far as always pulling something positive out of whatever might be leaning the other direction, it's just that. If it wasn't for, you know, again, growth mindset, revolving yourself around people that will not co-sign your bullshit, that will call you out, that will challenge you to grow and not be okay with just mediocrity and just staying fucking level. That's a growth mindset. Going back to, you know, the arrogance in a sense and having someone call me out on that, allowing me to really look at that, you know, to really look at that and to pull from that some beautiful principles and to follow through with that. And, you know, I forget how I wanted to tie this into what we just spoke to somebody else about the other day was, the concept of, you know, embracing where we had been at one point, regardless of what it looked like, good, bad, ugly, whatever. But like, it was a question that you had for Roger the other day about his elevator pitch if he had one, and you have a limited amount of time, you're stuck in an elevator in a waiting room with somebody, and they ask you what's your whoop whoop whoop, and you want to give them a quick rundown, but like kind of give them the meat and potatoes all in one. And I feel like we hit an even stronger point there, and it was about, first of all, I think his answer was something, and this was the most beautiful answer. I love this. It was something along the lines of, I remember how I got in that elevator in the first place. And I took that meaning as, I remember where I came from. I remember what got me in that room standing with that person in the first place. What is it that brought me to this perception I'm at right now and what I'm working on or what I'm doing? And we can tie that back to just a growth mindset. That's a way you can look at everything. Like, what got me to this point? What is it that I need to look at right now? Positive, negative, like I said, good, bad, ugly, whatever. But I may have steered away from what I really wanted to land with that, but I think it's very important to remember all the things, the whole entire spectrum, to be able to, again, highlight the deficiencies, take a shovel and fucking dig through that shit instead of put it on a shelf. And the more that we can spotlight those things, the more we can use those as stepping stones to grow in whatever area of our life: graph, art, family, relationships, business, on and on and on. And I think that's power.
Sounds good to me.
Right? Yeah, man. I mean, this, again, anybody else who's listening, like, this is just raw, like, two writers sitting at a table trying to be positive about this whole outlook on graph and how we can kind of turn it back into that as we're, learning ourselves. This ain't something that we've studied our whole lives. This sure as fuck ain't something I've lived my life. This is something I'm trying to adopt today, that I see how it's working in my life today. Last example I'm going to give right now. Another area in my life is another support / fellowship that I'm a part of. And I have older mentors that have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. And a good example of this fixed and growth mindset is, these gentlemen have showed me a very beautiful path and a blueprint and a direction on how and why, and this is how we do. If you want what we got, this is what you do. Do what we do. Although they're fucking human. Nobody walks on water. They still fall back on this and that with their fixed mindset of these kind of things. But the beautiful part is, with the growth mindset, I feel that shines brighter then. It's their short-lived intervals. Like, even if something does pop up mindset wise, we don't have to act on it. We can use that as a stepping stone in our arena of growth, and
not only do you not have to act on it, but I've noticed it often triggers you to remember that you're on this growth mindset, because, like, it's sort of like talking about when you learn something, or you get physically fit, or you mentally progress or whatever. It doesn't mean that you just have it. It's not like something that you just have with you. You have to maintain it, and you have to remember that you're on that path. So, I mean, if you're let's say you decide, like I did, I'm going to do this growth mindset. I forget that I'm doing that. Like, you forget about it. You go back on your normal life and you get busy at work, and it's not like you just sit there and think about, I'm on this growth mindset all day long. Like, it's just something you've adopted into your life. Right. So those times when you're like, I just don't have what it takes, or whatever it is, somebody talks shit to you and it affects you in a fixed mindset kind of way. Those for me, they trigger me to remember, oh shit, I'm on this growth mindset thing. How would I look at it from this perspective? If I'm looking at it from a growth mindset, whatever it is, I mean, outside of something like tragic, it becomes way easier. And even tragedy, I mean, like, I'm a big dog person, and like, my dogs are my family, and one of my dogs passed away recently. And nothing makes it easy, but like a growth mindset, it helped me see things for what they are. It's just sort of like, that's not something that happened to me, you know? It was just something that happened and you have to deal with it. You know, it sucks. Outside of shit like that, I mean, that stuff's going to suck. There's nothing that's going to take you out of that.
Of course.
But the growth mindset's going to take you out of a lot of the things that might ruin your day or might ruin your next 4 hours or something. Like if somebody cuts you off in traffic, I used to be the guy that would affect me, you know, like I used to be very mad about that. Mm-hmm. Now I do not give a fuck if you cut me off. I don't care. It's that guy's in a hurry. I'm not, you know, it's got absolutely no effect on me. It's to the point. Let me backtrack a tiny bit. It has a small effect on me. Like, what an idiot. And then it's gone.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy that's going to pull up next to him, see what that guy looks like.
That's what I used to do.
I used to do that too.
So ridiculous.
So it's surprising now when I see that.
Right.
Sometimes I'll do something stupid in traffic, like, oh shit, I didn't see that guy there.
Yeah.
And then I see this crazy reaction that I got out of that person. I'm like, dude, you literally had to hit your brakes. You're set back 3.5 seconds. That's it. That's all that happened. And you're enraged. You're up next to me. You're yelling at me. It's like, dude, the amount of energy you put out just now yelling at me is like 1,000 times more than what it took for you to move your fucking foot and put on the brake. Like,
that's growth.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, that I see.
So that's a growth shit right there. I mean, that's like, it makes life easier. It makes life way fucking easier because that guy that cut me off, he didn't do that to me. He just fucking wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
And that's it. I hit my brakes and I go about my day.
Right.
My fucking heart rate didn't increase. My breath didn't get all crazy and I didn't risk getting shot by some psychopath because I drove up next to, you know, it's like, it's just crazy. It's so much easier to have this growth mindset.
That's so great. You know, I used to, I'd like to blame it on my state of mind because of other, you know, things that I had in my life, extracurricular substances that I was, you know, that I had in my life. I'd like to blame it on that. But the truth of the matter is once that's gone and I've uncovered some shit, that's not what it was. My whole nature around everything was a what's the word? Not growth mindset, a fixed mindset. It was, for me, I was selfish and self-seeking and fucking everything was about me. That dude fucking cut me off. He knows it was me. Yeah. He knows I was going in that lane. He knows that, you know, everything to me was about me. Everything was personal. Everything was because of me and I could fix everything, you know? So it's like that fixed mindset kept me stuck and kept me, my trajectory, how do you say it? Trajectory. Trajectory. I'm tired.
Let's go to the blooper reel.
Yeah. So, okay. At that point when I was feeling that way about myself, that all things were about me, and that I could control other people and all the things. I could fix it. I could change it. I could switch it, whatever. My entire existence was going straight downhill. Once I realized, fuck, man, you selfish prick. It's not about you. It's not all about you. Other people, life shows up for them as well. That dude, his wife could have been having a baby. His mom just had a heart attack. He was, whoop, who knows what. And like you said, you adopt that mentality like, dude, I'm good. I'm going to just turn up my music and slow down a little bit. My ride is way smoother when I go slow anyway. This shit's, you know, fresh like this. And like adopting that positive growth kind of mindset, like, it's all good. I kind of wanted to get off right here anyway. I'm hungry. Like, just like looking at things that way instead. Like, man, I feel like I've wasted so many years and I've burned so many bridges acting so fixed on these premature and misguided notions and ideas of how things are and should be. And it's only with time and, again, taking the advice and guidance from somewhere else besides up in my head has been power.
Well, and also, you know, you could get all guru about it and say like everything happens for a reason and all that shit. I don't know if I believe that or not. I kind of do, but there is something to be said about, you may have a lot of regrettable things in your past, and I think everybody does. But you don't know what would have happened had you not done those things. So, you may not have become this person that you are now had you not gone down those paths. And while it's regrettable that maybe you hurt some people along the way mentally or whatever, burn bridges and things that you wish didn't happen, it's possible that those quote failures or whatever, failures of being the person that you wished you were at the time are what led you to doing the things you're doing now. So if you look at, how long ago was it? 109 days ago that you mentioned?
About 104.
104 days ago. So that was I guess you could call it a tipping point in your life. So like, and it was a wake up call or, whatever fucking cliche you want to add to it. Mm-hmm. It was something that needed to happen, maybe not needed, but it was something that triggered a tremendous amount of growth. So like all the stuff that you're talking about, while maybe it is regrettable, you don't know where you would have ended up had you not done those things. I mean,
well said.
I've had things in my past where there was a time in my life where I was like, fuck, I really wish I hadn't have done that. Like I ruined this, or I messed this up because of the way that I was acting. But when I really think about it, if I really, really look at it, the amount of learning that I got from losing the things that I had that I wanted, or messing things up, so to speak, it taught me everything that I know now. Not everything, but it taught me really valuable things that I know now that I'm now applying to things that I have in my life now that are better than anything that I ever had before. So I don't know if that's fixed growth mindset shit or not. It sounds like it is. I want to read this book again to really make sure I fully understand, but
that was good. That was well said. I think that what you just kind of summed up was, is it regret? Is it resilience? I think the difference between the two will be whether or not we choose to repeat that or grow from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Regret or learning. I mean, it's,
right?
It's that whole shit about looking at things as lessons. I mean, that Jocko Willink, I've read a couple of his books, and I wish I knew the things that he said, but it was like, he listed all these problems, and after each one he said good. Mm-hmm. And it was like a lot of problems that you wouldn't want to have, like injured yourself in the gym, good. You needed to take some time off, or, you didn't get this opportunity, good. Right. Something better is on, whatever it was. But every single problem he would say good, because you would learn something from it. So
yes. So how do we tie that back to graffiti art now?
We went way far away.
No, but
we told them in the beginning, we said, we're going to keep this tied to graffiti. But look, if you guys were following and understanding it, and if you're still here, fucking props to you.
Yeah, if you're hanging on because you're in a cubicle or driving somewhere far.
You're on a commute to fucking somewhere. But it all ties to graph. Yes. I mean, it all ties to graph because it all ties to everything. You can, the only way we can really tie it to graph is to give a bunch of different examples, which I don't know that we need to
give a couple. Like, let's give a couple. Let's just say you disrespected some members of your crew. You went out of your way to kind of puff up your chest and this and that. Maybe you apologize. Maybe you man up and say that was unnecessary. We should have just handled that like you mentioned earlier. Like, here's a suggestion. Maybe we can improve our shit like this. It's only going to make your crew stronger. Maybe you fell off a bridge. Maybe you fell off a billboard. Maybe it's time for you to slow down a little bit and look at something else. Maybe you got to zone in on another part of your style or your whatever. Just look at that as a blessing that maybe tomorrow, the day after, something worse would have happened. So,
that's true.
Maybe maybe somebody didn't have you on the list for their show, for their new art show and all that, and you're kind of bent about that, and you want to like decapitate that relationship in a sense, and kind of, or what's the word? You know what I'm saying? And you say, no, maybe not. Maybe there's a better show around the corner that's more fit for you. Maybe you need to throw a few more canvases together. Like, look at it like that, and go give that homeboy some props and like respect for your amazing show. Like, every situation can have a positive outlook and a you know, I think the key here, the growth mindset for me, what I'm learning the most, and I could sum it up, is take a minute to breathe and think about the situation before you act on it, because everything can turn out in a more of a positive and a better outcome if you take a few minutes. This is what I've been told from those that I love and respect the most that I didn't apply before. Breathe, take a minute, sit down, think about the situation and how and why this may have happened and how you can grow from this.
Well, and not making it about you.
Not making it about
so
you.
Like a good example, when you're talking about maybe you didn't get put in the art show that you wanted to get put in, like maybe it's not about you. I mean, it's not, I could already say that it's probably not about you. I mean, maybe it is, but maybe it could be a lot of things, like the stuff that Steve Grody was talking about. He said that the book that he wrote, it didn't cover everybody. So a lot of people were bent out of shape from not being in there, but he physically could not fit everything in there. Mm-hmm. There was not enough room. They asked him for whatever it was, like 42,000 words, and he gave him like 58,000 words. So like everybody that was upset by not being in that book, you know, maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's not like, oh, well, I'm a legend and I'm this or I'm that. It's, I should have been in that book. Like, sure, I wanted to be in that book. Mm-hmm. I am in that book. I have a little tiny picture, like a 2-inch little picture. Okay, maybe I won't say that.
Oh, that's good.
But I mean, like, nothing's written about me, you know. I don't, whatever.
Yeah.
But not everybody could fit in the book, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like, and there's books, I've picked up books.
Right.
Let's go back to something. I've picked up other books and expected like, oh, I'm probably going to have something in there.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Or I picked up a magazine about this area. Mm-hmm. And there was a time in my graph career where I was getting put in a lot of magazines. So when I would pick up a magazine and I wasn't in it, I would get kind of butthurt about it. But it wasn't about me, man. It was about fucking...
You don't know what that magazine was going through. You don't know how many pictures they can put in.
The magazine might have had a bad day that day.
Exactly. But that's the truth. You don't know what that fucking art show, the people in charge of this shit are going through and what their specifications are. It had nothing to do with you, homeboy, like not being in it or me or that person or that person. It's a fact that, check it out. These are the guys that this is the limit that we had. Whoa, did you look at it like, hell yeah. And the growth mindset is having faith like, fuck yeah, my shit's going to look amazing in here one day. I can't wait till my shit's up there. You know, have that perspective.
Or any number of things. Yeah, or I'm going to go and have a a time.
Yeah,
and
period.
Who cares?
Exactly.
Like, go have fun.
Yeah, don't anticipate.
You know, people are going to be there. You know? Go have a good time.
Go have a good time.
I mean,
yeah.
It's easier said than done. It's not like it's not like a magical fucking thing that everybody can apply. And it's like I keep saying, you got to work at it.
Yeah. I may call someone an asshole on the way home. Like, I'm trying. I probably won't, but it's possible.
Best. Yeah. It's not impossible.
Yeah, it's not impossible. This is what humanizes everybody is realizing that we're all just attempting to grow here and learn, and we're not even close to scratching the surface. And I think with that mindset, you're growing. Period.
Anyway, I don't have anything else.
Support Graffiti Machine. All we ask is that you share with another person close to you any bit of positivity and anything that can lift them up, and we will have succeeded for the day.
Yeah, that would be appreciated. And fuck it.
Stay up.
All right, then.